Hey, Erin. Hey,
Hi,
everybody.
how are
Welcome
you?
to Good. We'll go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone, to our Monday night Team Allen call. I am so excited to have Diamond Erin Zimmerman on our call tonight and to have her just share some of her heart and story with you guys. She's been a huge inspiration to me, even if she doesn't know it. We joined, I think within days of each other, right? October 2013.
Right.
And she is just an amazing leader, an amazing diamond. She also earned the shopping spree as well this year. So I'm just so excited for her to pour into all of you tonight. And I'm just so thankful that I have fellow diamond sideline sisters that are just so amazing. And we genuinely love each other. Erin and I met about 2 years ago when we were emeralds on the treadmill next to each other at Leaders Retreat. So
Yeah.
just, yeah, and I just knew from just talking to her, I was like, wow, she is just so sweet, kind, and genuine. So thank you, Erin, for taking the time to be on tonight.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. I am so honored that you asked me to come and talk to your team. This is an amazing team. You guys, I truly do just sit and marvel at how week after week after week you guys are hitting the leaderboard. And so I hope that I'm able to bring some value and a few things that you guys will be able to take away that might be able to apply to your business. But Lynn, thank you so much for just inviting me to come and visit with you guys a little bit. So I think what I'll do is just share a little bit about my story, and then I've just got a few things that are kind of on my heart and mind that I thought I would share as time permits. So let me tell you a little bit about myself first. I tell you all of this just to paint the picture. Please don't think that I'm like patting myself on the back in any way, but I am a registered dietitian. I fell in love with nutrition in college and I have my undergraduate degree in exercise science and then got my master's degree in nutrition. Following school, I worked as a dietitian for a little while, and then I got into corporate America, pharmaceutical sales for an infant formula company. And after I was there about a year, they asked me to come to the headquarters and work in the corporate office doing a variety of things. It was so much fun. I absolutely loved it, and I grew in so many ways. So I spent about 8 years in that traditional corporate job. And you guys, honestly, this is kind of, I'm embarrassed to say this now, but I really believe that that was the only respectable way to make an income, was to do it the good old-fashioned way, either punch a clock or work, in a corporate setting. I successfully climbed the corporate ladder, but I was traveling 2 to 4 nights a week, working 50, 60 plus hours every single week. And you guys, ultimately, I just walked away. There came a point where I realized that the personal cost of all of this, I was reaching all these goals and truly doing what I'd always dreamed of doing, but the personal cost was just too great. I was missing out completely on my growing family. And we just decided for me to walk away and be a stay-at-home mom, which I love, and I know that that's my calling. But at the time, I really thought that I was forfeiting all my hopes and dreams of ever having a successful career. Also, while I was in corporate, they sent me to get my MBA. So I had all this education, all this experience, and I just walked away. But I absolutely knew that that's what I was supposed to do at the time. So fast forward a few years, I start seeing 2 of my best friends from college posting about, you may have heard of them. One girl's name is Celeste, and the other girl's name is Jen Hawkins. So they're 2 of my very best friends from OBU. And I'm seeing them post about Plexus. And if you know a dietitian, you know dietitians are trained to be skeptical. And I was extremely skeptical. All of my best friends were doing Plexus either as customers or as ambassadors. And I just thought that they were crazy. I thought that I remember thinking, what have they gotten themselves into? And Jenny even asked me at one of our little girls' weekends, she was like, so what do you think about Plexus? She was still fairly new to it and was wondering from a dietitian standpoint what I thought. And of course I told her. The thing is, all my opinions about Plexus were based upon assumptions, nothing based on fact. I hadn't even looked at the products. I hadn't even looked into network marketing, if I'm being honest. So I'm watching them. There's a point came where I could no longer deny both the financial and the health success that they were both having. And so many more of my friends had begun to jump on board. But I was skeptical about it for about 18 months, that I sit back and watched them have success and really change lives. But in August of 13, I decided, actually I didn't, my husband said, I want to try the products, because I had been sharing all about this with him. And so I was pregnant with our third baby, and so I ordered for him, but I didn't take the products for another couple of months until after I had the baby. And I just did it to help me get some of that baby weight off. I did, though, think that if I had a horrible experience with network marketing in the past. And so I was coming from a skeptical dietitian, and then secondly, a horrible, it was just complete failure in another network marketing company. So a lot was stacked against me having buy-in with Plexus and honestly ever having success with it. But my husband wanted to try the products. I decided if I could just make enough to cover the cost, who out there thought that whenever they first started, then I'll be doing good. And maybe if I could make a couple of $100 extra to help with my kids' Mother's Day Out program, I was going to feel really good about that. So met that goal the first month, and then you guys know, it doubled the next month, and then over the course of time it just continues to grow, and you have this snowball, and all of a sudden you look up and you're like, I have a business. But here's the thing that I learned, and that I really want to share with you guys, is probably the most important sort of moral of the story with my story. Whenever I left corporate America, I thought that I was forfeiting all my hopes and dreams of ever having a successful career. But what I really realized is that I was defining success all wrong. Success for me truly, and I can say this now because I can reflect back, is spending more time with my family, right? It's helping my loved ones to gain health and financial freedom. I'm a dietitian, so it's a healthcare background. Just by nature, I want to help people. Strengthening relationships. I'm very relational, and so being able to rekindle old college relationships. I do this with both of my sisters. My older sister is my upline, and then my baby sister is a sideline, and we have so much fun doing this together. But I think ultimately, I feel like I'm truly doing work that makes a difference. And so now I can look and realize that I was defining success all wrong for me whenever I was in corporate. So now here I am 4 years into this, and over 4 years, and I am so thankful that God showed me another way. I'm so thankful that I was open to giving this a shot, because my life would be, the life of my family would be so different had we had I stayed in corporate America. I would have been missing out so much on them. But the thing that's cool is everything I learned in those years in corporate, I can apply those probably even more effectively to Plexus. All the leadership, marketing, management, sales training, sales, dietitian, exercise science, all of these things just fit perfectly to what I'm doing with Plexus. And I think that everybody's background is going to be a little bit different. Don't think that, oh, well, I'm not a dietitian, I'm not going to be successful. That's ridiculous. What you have built in your background, whether it's your network or just the set of skills that you've put together, over the course of the last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever it is, those come together and they are very unique to you and your success with Plexus. So I would really challenge you to think about what those are for you, and then figure out how you can be using them even more effectively to grow your business or grow your team or love on people. So while I left corporate America in 2011, I did not forfeit all my hopes and dreams of ever having a successful career. In reality, doing that, taking that step, being obedient to what I knew God was calling me to do, that freed me up to truly live the life of my dreams, truly live out success as I've defined it now with more wisdom and more maturity. So that's just a little bit about my story. One of the things that I thought I would share with you guys is just some leadership lessons that I've learned. And Lynn, at any point, if you want to stop me or jump in, please do, because I'll just talk forever.
No, this is perfect. And I love your story. That's the first time I've heard your actual whole full story.
Oh,
So
yeah. Okay, good. Good. Well, thank you. So I want to share some leadership lessons I've learned. So you heard a little bit about my corporate background. The reason I moved into the headquarters, we moved to Indiana from Oklahoma, was to be a part of what's called the Management Candidate Program. And the company I was with was a subsidiary of Bristol Myers Squibb, so pretty good sized organization. It was actually the company that makes Enfamil baby formula. So you guys many of you probably have used those products. So I went into this management candidate program, and the whole purpose of this was to develop me to become a leader. And it was a whole curriculum that had books I read. I shadowed people. I went out to district meetings. I planned meetings. I was the sales training instructor. That was my actual job title in the company. So just that alone really developed a lot of leadership skills and, just presentation and things like that. So there are hundreds and hundreds of leadership books out there. I mean, I've got a stack of them right beside me. Many of them that I read during the course of that time. And those are important. Book knowledge is great. It really kind of challenges you and makes you think. But what I want to share doesn't come from those. It's coming more from just my experience and things that I've seen that work really, really well. And managers that I had that did these things, and I loved working for them. I would walk through a brick wall for them. But then on the flip side of that, the managers I had that did not exhibit these leadership traits that I honestly couldn't get away from fast enough, right? And so you guys have probably experienced that. Those managers you love, or those leaders that you love, and those that you don't so much. So whether you have one person on your team, you've heard this, but if you have one person on your team or 15,000 people on your team, leadership development is important. And I believe every single one of us has to struggle through this at some point. So I want to challenge you, if you only have one person on your team, still be diving in, because you're going to come to a point with the size of your team that you're going to hit your leadership lid. And if you had poured into this and really tried and thought about this and looked at ways that you could grow in the past, then your leadership lid's going to be a whole lot higher, and it's going to allow you to go further faster. So I think oftentimes people are slowed down in their growth with Plexus because they're just not to the point from a leadership standpoint yet that God's ready to give them that additional responsibility or that additional role. And so I would just challenge you guys to be thinking about whatever stage you are in leadership, how can I be pushing myself? And we'll talk about that a little bit more. So I'm going to just talk about these, I think there's 4 leadership lessons I've learned, and then I'll give you a couple of practical tips with each one on how you can apply it. And I think that'll be helpful So I'm not just telling you what you need to do, but some specifics on how you can actually go about doing that. So the first thing, I think this is one of the most important things, is to lead with the heart. And think about, how do you make people feel? Like I said, do they want to walk through a brick wall for you? Do they feel like they're loved and accepted and that you give them grace? Or do they feel like they're always in trouble and in the principal's office? With Plexus, people don't report to us. So we have to lead with influence. We have to, we can't tell them what to do. We can ask, we can suggest, we can do all kinds of ideas and contests and incentives and training, but they own their own business. So ultimately, they don't have to do what we ask them or tell them to do outside of things that are legal and compliant, right? So think about, how do I make people feel? And if I make people feel like they're always in trouble, or they're always disappointing me, or they're always frustrating me, or I'm coming down on them, they're going to be like, forget it, I'm out of here. I'll go find something else to do. So think about that. Care about people outside of Plexus. I have a ton of leaders on my team that I didn't even know before Plexus, but I really try to reach out to them about their kids, about activities going on, if they, you know, have something other than Plexus going on, just to check in and see how they're doing. And then the other thing is, don't talk bad about other people on your team to people on your team. I remember someone in high school telling me, if they're talking bad about others to you, more than likely they're talking bad about you to others. And that just doesn't create a culture of trust, and where people truly feel like you care about them. So some practical tips: check in regularly, praise people often, any opportunity you can. Find little things to praise about what they're doing. Keep them in mind and share. When I'm out and about, if I see, one of my level ones has 2 kids that are competitive swimmers. So if I were to run across something that I think might be applicable to their life with swimming, then that could be, I could say, hey, I just saw this and it made me think of you. How are the kids doing with swim this year? Just random stuff that you're just showing them that they're crossing your mind throughout the days and weeks. Remind them of special times you've shared. I had a girl go with me to one of the it was the chef tasting event was that Leaders Retreat a couple of years? I can't remember, with Marco DeSpirito. And so I ran across a picture and I sent it to her and said, this was such a fun night. Thank you for, enjoying that with me, or whatever. So just remind them of special times you shared. Be specific in your recognition. Don't just say, you did a great job, but talk about something specific they did that was great. And then identify where each person needs help and help them. Just ask them, how can I be most helpful to you? And then jot that down and find specific ways that you can help them. And this is specific to your level ones, maybe some adopted level twos. I mean, there's only so much that you can do, right? But these are just some things that you can do to help you to lead with the heart, really show people that you care about them. The second thing is wise navigation. This is something that I just have watched a lot of different leaders, and I think this is another one of those areas where we need experiences and we need mentors and we need to challenge ourselves to grow. So navigate means to steer a course through. So when something happens that's maybe less than positive, maybe something comes down from corporate that people aren't excited about, or maybe there's a new rule from compliance that we're having to navigate through. Your team is going to take on your temperament and your leadership personality. So do you react, or do you investigate, ask questions, develop a plan? Do you get angry and frustrated and say bad things about the company? Or are you grateful and you don't complain and you find that silver lining and you show the team how to look at this in a positive light, challenges or opportunities? So some practical tips is to ask questions first. I always try to ask questions. I find that a lot of times something that's a disaster, so people say, oh, my entire team is quitting. And I'm like, oh my goodness, who quit? They're like, well, Sally. I'm like, okay, who else? Just Sally. I'm like, that's not your entire team. So there's just a lot of times we just need to ask some questions and dig in a little bit deeper so that we can develop a plan and figure out where to go from here. As much as you can, neutralize issues. As much as you can, be a peacemaker. Don't add fuel to the fire. I really try to stay above the fray. You're not going to find me chatting in Facebook chat groups, saying bad stuff or getting into conversations. It doesn't help anything, and it wastes my time too. I'd much rather be doing number one, which is loving on my team. And then you guys, you can't overreact, but you also can't underreact. Another issue with leadership is you got to know when to act. There are times where your team's starting to there's a lot of fear or concern or things are kind of spiraling, that you need to jump on your team page or jump on the phone and say, okay, now listen, everything's fine. You can't let things go on and on and on too long either. But I also think sometimes we jump on and try to fix stuff before we need it to. Corporate will come out with a good email or something that explains everything. So there's a balance there of just figuring out not to overreact, but not to underreact. So that was the second one, wise navigation, just navigating through those waters. The number 3 would be to lead strategically. And, I try to implement some kind of a routine consistency. My team can set their watch by the fact that I will post something on my team page early in the morning. Some kind of direction, motivation, training, inspiration, something, because I want to get to them early. So throughout the day, as they check the team page, they'll see that. I really try to look at my calendar and plan at least 1 month out, but 3 months out is ideal. So we can look at what corporate does and make our plans in line with those. And I'm sure Lynn does a fantastic job of that. I like to pull my leaders into my planning so that they have buy-in, they're excited about it, they understand it, and then they'll roll it out. So practical tips here is just keep it simple, keep it focused, and always make sure what you're doing is focused on IPA and focused on personal development. Don't get so busy doing all kinds of crazy programs and incentives, and you look up one day and you're like, man, I'm not even really hammering home the key point, which is that we need to be reaching out to people and sharing about these products and this opportunity and following up. And then make it fun. Again, that kind of goes back to number 1. You want your people to want to be around and want to do this, and the funner you can make it, and then just the tone is so important. And then the last thing is to pray. I think this is so important, and oftentimes I find myself not doing this and looking up, and I'm like, you know what, I've been trying to do this all on my own. So focus on what you can control, but so much is out of our control. There's so much. It goes back to what I was talking about earlier about your leadership lid. There are certain things, God's doing a work, so he wants to develop somebody in a certain way, or there's things he's trying to teach every single one of us through this journey. It's such a personal growth journey. And that has been one of the most pleasant surprises for me, is how much I've grown personally through this. So just pray about where you need to grow as a leader and where you need to learn, and then also for your team, and just praying for them. And then let them know you're praying for them. I love to keep a prayer journal that I can flip back through and see my answered prayers. And then again, listen to what God's trying to teach you on how you can grow in areas where you need to develop. So books and seminars are fantastic. They are. Leadership books, John Maxwell, Leaders Retreat next week. All of these things are great, and we should all be doing those. They set a really good foundation. But I want to challenge you guys to just find areas where you can stretch your leadership muscle or strengthen that leadership muscle through experiences and through trials. When things happen, lean into those. Search the struggles out. Watch what successful leaders do. Ask them what they do. Ask them when you encounter an issue, call them up and say, okay, I don't know what to do with this. How would you handle this? And seek that wisdom and advice, because it'll raise your leadership lid. And I really believe that that helps you progress throughout this business so much more quickly. And this is I'll end here with a quote from Kenneth Blanchard. The key to successful leadership today is influence, not authority. And I think that is so, so true for Plexus. So embrace that journey for yourself and encourage your team to do the same. These challenges, any challenge that we face, is good for us, and it's going to really grow us and help us. So hopefully that was helpful, Lynn.
Yes, that was so helpful, and I loved all that you had to say. And I love how you touched on the leadership so many times, and we're doing a Maui group on our team, and a lot of the fears where they're afraid they're not going to be a good enough leader. And I tell them, you and I at Silver, we're not the leaders we are today, that you grow and learn literally each day with your team through this business. Like, you don't just wake up, Silver, and go, oh, I've got the diamond leadership qualities. That came with days and months and hard times and challenges and learning through it all. And also, like you said, making sure you pour into yourself somehow with some self-development so you're better prepared. But leadership is along the way, you guys. You don't just wake up, or spend $34.95, join us with Plexus and go, oh, I have all the leadership skills that I need, because none of us do.
No. It's so true. And I want to share this real quick before I go. This is a fun little read. It's John Maxwell, and it's Wisdom from Women in the Bible. And the one in here on Mary, the mother of Jesus, talks about God moments. And it's talking about just whenever you're listening, that he's going to bring to you these opportunities, that there's just a couple of things about him. And these are Plexus written all over it for me. They're not anticipated, never in a million years. They're connected to God's favor. I mean, this is such a blessing. They require us to say yes. He could have presented this to me and I could have been like, no. He did. 18 months. I said, no, 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 no. But they change your life and the lives of others. So whenever we're willing to trust God and say yes to him, our lives take on new meaning and direction, and we don't want to miss that. So I just love, and it's a cute little book. It's super easy to read, but I would recommend this. It's a lot of fun. So and I think that goes to those fears, Lynn, is we're all scared. I do things every day I'm scared about, we have to. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Well, thank you so much for spending your evening with us. And I know you have to run, but we're so thankful, and thank you for just everything you've given us tonight. It's awesome and amazing, and I love everything that you had to say. And I will see you in a week and a half at Leaders Retreat.
Oh my goodness, I can't wait.
I know.
Get our shop on.
I know, I'm so excited.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night. Bye, everyone.